Okay, this is the first video of my favorite 10 earphones in the world at any price range. I will do this video 4 times in a year, so that will be quarterly. Every 3 months I will update this and we will look at it and see if it has changed too much or at all. I got mixed emotions. I would like to see something new up on the list because something blows me away like the Unique Melody MEST did, but I wouldn't want too much change. This is a fully formed list now. I went through my stages of, everything's awesome, and then came back down to earth a little bit. So this is my top 10. And all of this evaluation is using music. I use music in all of my videos, all of them, when I talk about gear, and I try to be as specific as possible why I like something and talk about that in the video. Some people say, oh, he talks about kick drums and cymbal strikes, and it's music gear. It plays music, and this is my library, and I'm looking for certain things because of this library, like you would be if you were listening to something else. So it kind of is the context. Why do I like what I like? It's got a lot to do with the instruments and the music that I listen to. So the context is everything. It's not heights and widths and technicalities. It is in a way, but I express it using music, and I connect to a certain audience because of that. The Unique Melody MEST has a bone conduction driver in it, and there's a lot of questions about what it actually that's doing. If that wasn't doing anything, it would essentially be a tribrid, and if I were to compare that to all the other tribrids I've heard, and I've heard some really good ones, that would be bonkers because it's a completely different replay. It doesn't get fatiguing. The treble it's very clear, but it doesn't do what all other earphones do. It was advertised originally in the custom version, if you look at the advertisements, because I think having a lot of contact and in your ear, because the bone conduction driver, it's stuff that is supposed to make some kind of surface contact. The international version, I never got a good fit, so I never really got into that. The JP one fit great because it's more like a hybrid between a universal and a custom. It fit really good, and they gave me that sensation a lot, so I decided for the first time in my life to go custom, which is kind of an indication of how impressed I was. So that's the first custom I ever got. The bass is fantastic. It's realistic. The mids are great. The treble is unique to any other earphone I've ever heard in my life. There's nothing like it. It is really above everything else. It looks close to the Sony ARE Z1R, but it really isn't, to be honest with you. I've given away 3 of those recently. Patreons, Twitter, and then I got another set coming in. So that's like potato chips in Japan. I can get that stuff easy. And it's a great set, but I consider the Unique Melody MEST to be quite above that. Second one would be the Sony ARE Z1R. I think it's fantastic. The mids are a weak point, and it's noticeable when compared to something like the Unique Melody. When I A&B this with the Unique Melody, the treble's fantastic, not quite as good as the MEST, and the mids also aren't, and the bass is done differently but very well on both of them. Number 3 would be the Thea Audio Clairvoyance, which is done by Linsol, that sends me a lot of stuff, so people think, oh, surprise. It's a really good set. I like it a lot, and for my library and particular stuff like kick drums and bass guitars and male and female vocals and drum play and keyboards and synthesizers and West Coast mid-90s hip-hop and 70s classic rock, Steely Dan, all that stuff, it sounds absolutely fantastic. And I didn't like the Monarch because the bass, the sub bass, I actually learned a lesson comparing the Monarch and the Clairvoyance, which I had before anybody else did because I got it sent by Linsol, and I was tripping on kick drums and bass play just continually, and the difference between them was in the mid bass. And it was significant how that can be radically different when you focus on particular instruments. So Monarch is for a different crowd. It's really good. It received great reception, so I'm happy for it because I think Thea makes good stuff. But I prefer the Clairvoyance, and I buy a lot, actually. The next would be the Shure EJ07. I actually have the EJ09 right in front of me right there in that gray box, but I haven't done anything with it. EJ07 has treble that is done by EST, and it's not the amplitude scale, which is the frequency graph, doesn't show a lot in the late treble. It's all there though because I'm listening for a triangle strike at 39 seconds of Tin Man by a group called America, and it's there. The cymbal strikes from Blind Faith, Can't Find My Way Home, 27 seconds. Part of that is going way out into the area that is not emphasized in the graph, but it's present to my ears. So graphs are nice to indicate maybe tonality or issues, but there's none with EJ07, and no other set has received as much effuse praise on my channel by people that said, you know, I'm done, I'm out, this is what I was looking for. And they talk about music every single time. I did a video specifically for the EJ07 and that unique quality that it has to bring music lovers. There's a person in my Discord, Michael, and he's a guitar player. He plays other instruments too, so he can write music, he can read music, obviously. He plays musical instruments, so he knows what's supposed to be present when you're listening to music, particularly rock and roll. And it's all there. It's a very, very good set. I recommend it highly. What are these gold stars, if you can see this in the video? These are the ones that I actually listen to the most. And also, this is my favorite dynamic driver, the Moondrop. And this is my favorite tribrid, the EJ07. And this is my favorite quadbrid overall. So that's why these have stars next to them, because they're the best in their class, dynamic driver class, tribrid. Next would be the AEW Canary, which is very much a expensive mangered T, and it's a little bit better than the T, but not as much the price would indicate. It's got very much the same profile. The energy goes all the way out to about 16K, so everything sounds complete. There's a large sense of air. It's actually quite good. 64 Audio Tia Trio. This is an example. Go look at the graph. It's kind of wonky, but it sounds really good. There's moments where something can sound like the bass is being done by a separate driver, but it's like listening to a drummer and focusing on him. It doesn't distract from the music, but you can tell it's there, and the quality of the replay is exceptional. It's an expensive set though. And next would be the TA Forte. I think some people pick this over the Trio, but I would take the Trio over the Forte. They're both quite pricey. Moondrop Illumination. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Number 8, Moondrop Illumination, which is right over there. I love it. I love the set that finally took the EX1000 off its pedestal as being the best dynamic driver. It does bass guitar brilliantly. It does drums brilliantly. It does vocals, everything across the mids. It is a dynamic driver, and it's doing about as good as you can possibly do. Compared with the recently released Dunu Zen, I would take the Illumination. I was kind of on the fence at the time of the video, but it stays there because I like it better. Next will be the Odyssey iSign 20, and if you're an Android user like me, fuck you, fuck me, fuck us, because it's really designed for iOS and the apps and all that stuff. But if you can get into EQ, and I can because of the old days, it can, the sense of space, like open back, because it's a massive detail OCD tripping set. I love it. The ear hooks are garbage, the cable is garbage, the fact that it works with iOS only is garbage, but going on quality of audio replay, that would be my number 9. And number 10 would be the Mangered T. This is another set that's kind of like the EJ07, where a lot of people that are really into music, jazz, classical, rock and roll, not just my genres, are really smitten with it, especially at its price point of $300. It's the most affordable on this upper end of the list. It's very good. 1 dynamic 6-bounce armatures. And then number 11, which is just below, would be the Empire Ears Odin. Bought it myself with a slight discount. I still ended up paying just around $3,000 for it. Listened to it, immediately noticed that guitars, it's got fantastic qualities to it, but vocals and guitar solos do step forward, as the graph would indicate, when you've got a gain that large at that part of a frequency response. So it is what it is, but it is very expensive. If it was maybe more affordable. This is really based only on audio, but it's difficult to get over the fact that this is $3,400. And so I would, is the Mangered T really something you would rec over the Odin? Yes, I would, because the music that I listen to, look at any video, I'm usually citing the same Blind Faith, Black Sabbath, Soundgarden, America, Pink Floyd. With my library, it sounds better. Though the Odin is fantastic. I reached out and I want to get an LX, actually. So I like the Odin, but LX, and then I EQ a little bit. I think there's something about the LX that gets me. And then just below that would be the EX1000. I love it. And then below that would be the CA Audio Voyager 14, which is the only set of many BAs that I've ever listened to that actually sounded like there was a benefit to having those many BAs. The low end sounds authoritative as much as any BA set that I've ever heard. It's got fantastic detail. It's got that hump and hill. When actually I criticized the Odin or I questioned it, the person I talked to on Discord privately reminded me that it was not that unlike the 14 by CA Audio, and they actually do look somewhat. One is all BA and the other is a tribrid, right? And probably is 2DD, 5BA, 4A, so it's a tribrid. It's got the same curve. And one last thing, when you're looking at graphs, consider the contents of the IEM in question, because a graph of a single dynamic driver that is graphed identical to a tribrid, it's not going to sound the same because it's the combination of the different types of drivers, or an all BA set compared to a dynamic set tuned exactly the same and looking like one another on a frequency graph is not going to sound identical, because you're going to note differences. BAs have a sense and a property to their replay that is different from dynamic drivers, and that's good or bad, depends on what you prefer, but they're not the same. So graphs are great indicators of flaws. They won't tell you if something's good, but they can tell you if something might not be good because it's got rolled off bass, because it's got no treble in a certain area, it's got noticeably recessed mids. So use caution, try to get more information when you're looking at graphs, and it's usually available by most reviewers out there that I communicate with on a regular basis. And that's it. So let's see in 3 months. I'll use the same picture in the video thumbnail so that you know that it's an update to this. It'll basically be this. I wonder if I can screen capture this. Selected area. I'll go ahead and put this as there we go. And I'm out. You guys have a good one. And Utopia by Focal. Focal just released a new close back. That's the clear. It's an open back. Maybe around the same price range, called the Celeste. It was supposed to be released to the public via headphones.com video. And some people found stuff on cached websites and shared it. So that's coming. I'll be getting that as soon as it's available. And I'm out.